Hola!
Hello!
How you doing?
I'm good.
Hey, it's Jamie here and Michael and
I'm Offbeat Artwork or
MyTarot.org.
or artyforever.com.
Yeah,
all the things.
All the good things.
It's Michael and Jamie of My Two Wands.
Of My Two Wands, yes. So I tell you, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here.
Okay. So you can get up close and personal.
Oh, did I just...
Fixing cameras. Don't mind us.
Or is it... Oh. Well, heck.
Something. That's all right. You can see our big boom mic here.
I know, I
It's
know.
okay. It's okay.
Well, that is the... That is not the Lumix. I'm just going to switch here
Okay.
to the USB camera. There we go.
All right.
Okay,
Take
that's
two.
better.
Take two.
Wow, how'd that happen? That was weird. Anyway,
Hey,
hello again.
I'm Michael.
I'm Jamie.
Welcome to the 2-1 show, take two.
Take two. And so we're going to do something special here. So what did we already do, Michael?
We already have gone through the entire major arcana.
Wow.
And now we're into the minors, and we're going to talk more about those.
So personally, I think the minors are...
Often neglected.
Oh my gosh. Well, shall we see what Arthur Waite thinks of the minors?
Aww.
They all fall the plebes.
Mm-hmm.
They are useless.
Oh.
They are no.
Ouch!
I shall recognize at once that the Trump's majors belong to the divine,
Yes.
dealing of philosophy.
Yes.
But all that follows is just fortune telling. Since it's never been translated into any other language, the course thus adopted will then render to divination and at need to gambling and things that belong to this particular world of skills, but it will set apart for their proper blah 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 blah. So
You didn't like 'em.
essentially, yeah. And so, essentially, and that is carried over. So whenever you look at the Little White Book,
Yeah.
whenever you look at any other book, generally, for the most part, we have all this stuff with the majors, right?
We do.
But what do we have for the minors?
Not as much, but there is plenty to discuss.
You get a little burp.
Hopefully we can flesh that out for all of you.
You know? So, yes.
I've got plenty to talk about.
So we've done a lot of tarot history.
Yes. Start at the beginning.
Right, and so what are the pips? The pips are actually the original.
The original playing
So
cards.
if there's anything original to the tarot, it is the pips.
That's true.
Because yes, it was a game. It was a game that came out before the 13th century in Arabia, and it was called Mamluk.
Mamluk.
So
Something like that.
let's see here. And so let's just kind of zoom here.
There we go.
So here's
That's what they look like.
yeah. So this is the original deck. So it was made in the Middle East, and it was a card game, and it's reversed here. Let's spin this around. There we go. And it looks kind of familiar, doesn't it?
It does. So we got the coins,
We have,
the cups,
yep,
it's
it's a scimitar.
there you go, swords,
Swords.
but polo sticks.
They are polo sticks. So that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And it was made for a card game, and before the Trumps came along.
Right.
So I think we can maybe agree that this probably was not of an esoteric origin.
We can agree.
Okay, good. So it was just a way
show my feet, too?
to play a game. Yep. And so it's and I was just going through some of the different histories here, stuff like that. We know that it finally came through. Let's see. Through cultural military interactions, the game of cards became established in most Western European countries by 1375. We know this because it was banned by authorities shortly afterwards, which suggests its rapid popularity. So,
So switch us back down.
yep. And so so we know it came about 1370. Some years later in Paris, we know there was an ordinance, January 22nd, 1397, that forbids working people from playing tennis, bowls, cards, or 9-pins, except on holidays.
Well, I got to give them some time to have fun.
And yeah, so I mean, we know that. So the MLUC cards came along, and so, and again, it's the coins, it's the cups, and this is the scimitar here, which as we go forward, I want you to notice that the scimitar actually kind of loses its direction when we move into the Marseille style. You can't tell which way is really up or down. And the polo sticks, since they had no clue what polo sticks were, those evolved into batons.
Yep.
They evolved into batons.
Wands later.
Until wands later, until they came along.
Yeah.
And so that is the original game. Before, what happens is that it comes along into Italy, and then some people with money, a duke, Visconti, or whoever it was. Oh, you want me to hold
No,
that
no,
up
no.
to you?
I was just saying, flip your camera so that they can see us again.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you know, we're more interesting.
There we go. So, yeah, it came on. So, as a game,
Yep.
they added the 5th suit of the trumps. And that is what we've already gone through.
The triumphs.
So, it originally starts out as a card game.
Yep.
And as I always say, people will look for, when I am doing a reading, I look for omens. I look for, if cards jump out, or even if I trip coming into the door, that could mean something.
Everything has a meaning.
The person sitting across from you,
Lots of
the way
tells.
their hands are. I mean, you know that you read body language
Sure.
and stuff. Lots of tells.
Sure.
So, so that's how we also, as we move along and we start talking about the minors. But so it became a card game. People started seeing the signs and symbols in them, and then that's where we started becoming tarot readers, fortune tellers,
Right. As much as weight,
things like
chagrin.
that. Not only with the Marseille style, but also other styles, just regular playing decks and things like that.
Right. Yeah, you just got your regular playing decks,
Yep.
but they can just as easily be used for divination just as much as coins, cups, batons, and swords can translate into the clubs, diamonds, hearts, and spades.
Yeah, and so personally, I think that the minors are just as important.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I do believe that the majors are the higher level, the
Yes.
spiritual level. The minors are the day-to-day.
Right. But what do we? How do most of our lives is in the day to
in the day-to-day.
Exactly.
So when I'm reading, if I've got 4 cards spread out and there's 3 majors,
Yeah. Something big.
that's probably major.
Right. Exactly.
But if it's just 4 minors and one of them happens to end at the 10 of swords, then
It's not as
probably
big a
means-
deal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not like
It's not the end of the world.
it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Because that's a different card.
Right.
So exactly. So sounds like you had some ideas, Mike, of what you wanted to talk with. So where did you want to start with?
I mean,
I wanted the history. I got that. My life's complete.
okay. So history's done. We're ready to
History's
move
done.
on.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right.
There's not a whole lot of history to it, is there? It was a card game.
Right.
Somebody attached some trumps. We have the tarot.
Right. Moving forward.
And then we have 5,000 groups on Facebook called Tarot.
Right. How did we get there? So as it became used for divination, we started to associate the elements with the different suites. So swords became associated with air.
Yeah.
And mind, thoughts, communication, the whisper of an idea.
Right.
So that's swords. Cups became water. So you have the feelings, the emotions.
So and how did this develop? Okay.
Yeah.
So we okay. So you're going into this popular thing, but
Yeah.
how did that even develop? So who came up with that idea? Do we have?
I don't know if
Well,
I mean, I think it was just I don't know if you can pinpoint it to an exact person or even a school, but it's the whole idea being that you look at it and what does a sword do? It cuts through the air,
Yep.
right? What does a cup do? It holds liquid or water. What does a wand do? It can be used as a torch, right? So
Right.
that becomes fire, and it associates with energy, passion.
So in other words, it is common. It's
Common-
just kind of
common sense,
Common
yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
So start over again, because I was
Yep.
actually getting this to make sure that we can get so that we can see people talking.
Right, right,
Because
right.
there's Carla, Noel. Carla's here. Hi. So and I wanted to make sure we can see comments.
Absolutely.
Sorry about that. So
Wands would be like the spark of an idea, the creativity, the action, and coins would be the body, the material world, the money, the seed, the start of things, right? So it's these four
So
elemental.
we have our elements.
Yeah.
Now, but what about people who don't think that, for example, that wands, because it's trees,
Right.
that they're earth?
Right. So there are.
Are they wrong?
Well, there is no right or wrong, as we know.
There is no right or wrong.
So there are varying people.
Right. The big tradition is that,
Right.
cups are water.
Yes. That's easy. Everybody
yeah.
pretty much agrees on that one.
Yep. Then
Swords and batons get sometimes
swords
switched.
and batons. The chalice, the cups we got. Coins. Some people wonder about why that would be earth.
Right. So I see that as pretty easy to associate with Earth, just because you see money as almost like a seed.
Because with money you can make things grow. The other
Make
thing
things
is that
grow,
it's
exactly.
metal, and where do you get metal?
From the earth, exactly.
From the ground,
Right.
from digging it up. Other people also have said that, money is the one thing that with enough of it, you can actually move a mountain.
Right. Well, sure.
Literally. So you can make the earth move.
Right,
with it.
right,
But
right.
sometimes it's kind of stretching. But I agree that money
It makes sense.
And also the thing is that we'll
And
get
money's
into
green.
it later. We'll get into it later. But landholders.
Yes.
The landholders were the merchants.
Right.
And they're the ones that plowed the fields.
Sure. You also see the great divide between what is known as active and passive, or if you want to put gender terms on it, male and female.
Well, let's finish up this because let's cover the swords as air.
Okay, yeah, swords is
So
air.
let's cover that. So the rest of the elements.
Yeah.
So swords is air.
Yep.
Because
You cut through the air.
and all that wonderful stuff there. But there are some people that think that the swords are fire because of the destruction that goes with it. But again, I believe that swords are of the air, and I'm going to throw out the political thing because who wields swords?
Right, the king, right?
The kings,
Yep.
the people who actually are in power.
The enforcers.
And so we got the swords, wands, coins, and cups. So we've covered all of them.
We did. We have.
So yeah.
There's other correlations. So some say that the air, the sword, connected to your head.
Yep. Through
And
thought.
Right. And then the heart, the chest becomes the water, the emotions. And then your pelvis would be the fiery wand, reproductive longings and urges. And then
And it's about creation.
creation, exactly. Yep.
So
all that.
wands are about creation.
Sure.
So that
And-
way we don't have to get that.
Right.
But yeah.
And then good.
The fiery parts.
The fiery-
are creation.
Of creation, yes. And then the feet or the legs being the grounded. That's what walks on the earth. So you have that as the earth or the coins or earth
Yep.
energy at the bottom.
Now there are some people who say that there are 5.
Right, and so the fifth one would be the ether, the
Well,
quintessence.
So
that
there
would be
are
the
people who
matrix.
take a look at the pentacle, and they assign the 4 elements to these,
And
the
the
top
fifth
one
one
is
is
it's a
spirit.
spirit.
Right.
And so
And the spirit has
the
many
fifth
names.
element is the spirit, and that is what the trumps are.
Exactly.
And so that covers the
That's
trumps.
that's the fifth suite. Right.
So that is the 5th element.
Yes.
That is the higher element.
Exactly. But going back to just the 4.
Yes.
They've also been associated with times of the day. I personally see dawn as the air. because the sun rises in the east, so that's then I see west as water, and that W action. I see south as fire because where do you go to hell? It's all fiery down south. It's warm.
What's the name of that Slayer album, South of Heaven?
right, exactly. And north would be the earth because north is the kind of like the. Well, it's the last one, so you have to be something with right. It. But if it's green. It's
so there's a
yep. Yeah. And I mean, you also can associate it with the 4 seasons and the 4 gospels and the man, eagle, lion, ox, and all these other different things.
Well, the other major thing is that with these cards, and I thought you were probably going to go into but also the time of the year.
Right. So winter, autumn, summer, spring.
If this is fortune telling, because again,
how do we know?
If you read, a lot of the older books, they say that these cards are for fortune telling.
Right.
So if you're reading the cards and you are
asking a question about what time,
right? So then I look at it kind of like this because we have our 4 seasons. So personally, I see spring as
I see spring as the north. So you're starting.
Which card would be spring?
So I see spring as the coins because you're at let's see here. Yeah, because it's springtime. You've got these.
Spring is about new growth.
New growth. You've got these snowdrops on the Rider Waite, which is the first flower of spring. So you've got all these. It
so
feels
spring
like
could also be wands. So the point is that when
there's
you're
different traditions.
Spread, you can make your decision. So because of earth and harvesting. The coins would be autumn.
Right. So there's a lot of different ways to read it.
So I would see that as autumn. I would see the new birth. I would see as the wands. And then I see the summertime as the cups, where you're celebrating the cups and the joy. So
no, okay, but I would see the fire as like the hot days of summer, right?
See?
And I see the cups as the autumn because it's your the harvesting time to make the grapes into wine and and I see that the sword is the harsh days of winter. So
and the reason why I'm even bringing this up because
varying.
Well, it's just the fact that for meditating on the cards, it doesn't matter what the damn books say.
Right. How do you feel?
I have 100 books in here, but unless you sit down here and say, this is what it means to me.
Right.
Because what makes sense to me? Because actually, so we have the seasons. So when something is going to happen, if I see that thing sprouting up, if I'm looking at, a Marseille card and I'm sitting here and I see that growth right there, I could say, maybe it's going to happen in a few months, I think, towards the spring. So if it's going to happen.
You use your intuition and let it guide you,
exactly.
as always. But here's another way that I personally like to order things. So I looking at the playing cards, which are the correlating to these elements. You've got your spade with 1 point up, so that's 1, right? And then you've got the heart with 2 lobes, right? So that's 2. Then you've got the clover or the club with 3. So that's third. And finally you've got the diamond with 4 points. So that makes the most sense to me. And then it just so happens that it also goes in order with 1 air, 2 hearts, 3 the wands, and the 4 the coins. So there's a multiple ways that like that pattern, and that just makes sense to me.
Right. Yeah, and so that's the main thing, because in all reality, I don't practice esoteric tarot. I am an
But you do.
I'm an intuitive. I am a storyteller.
Sure.
I will have insights, and I can gain insights, and I can help pull insights out of people. Michael says, no, Jamie, you do something deeper than that.
I do. I can see it even if you don't admit to it. I think that you're oftentimes tapping into your higher consciousness and esoteric things that you pretend aren't there, but I think they're there whether you believe it or not.
So there's the elements, and there's a bunch of different ways to look at these cards.
Absolutely.
And how fast is something going to happen. So if I'm looking at these cards here, what would you say? And let's flash the cards. I'm going to bring it down to down here. Let's do the 2 camera.
I do have a lot to talk about. Especially them.
Yeah. So if I'm looking at these cards here, and we're going to get into what the aces mean, but
sure.
We want to understand. Well, here I just want to be able to.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. See that. So if I'm sitting here and I am asked how fast something's going to happen.
Yep.
If I see something, and let's say that let's say that we have a wand and that's fire.
Yes.
That's probably going to be sooner than if I have a coin.
Very
which
slow.
It takes something a long time.
Right.
To happen.
Absolutely.
And then you have the sword. That's going to be a while because it's going to take thought.
Right.
How long? So when you're reading,
but it can act quickly.
It can be
not
quickly.
not as quick as fire, but
right.
It's
as you're That's also consider another good thing about the minors is that again we're able to, because then you have the cups.
Right.
And the cups is going to be after you have you're going to trust your feelings, and it takes a while for your feelings to really just go with. So see what I'm doing?
I mean, but I would see this is definitely slow for the coins. This is definitely fast, and these two could go either way. So sometimes.
Well, this is after thought, and this is after prayer.
Okay, or this could, or this could be a quick decision, or I need time to think it over, and this could be I fall quickly into love, or the emotion has to grow. Yeah. So I mean, these two are the kind of like the in between.
So now we're starting to get into the actual aces, into the interpretation.
Yes.
So and hello, Kelly. What are Oliver's thoughts about you?
We don't
know. we really don't.
We're not going to do readings on these. And these are talks about educational about the tarot.
This is our freebie.
Yeah, but if you find us later, we might do some readings for you.
Yeah, go to the MyTarot Facebook page and hang out there. And as a matter of fact, if you hang out and you give to the crowd and things like that, I'll do readings free.
Exactly.
We
both will.
It's all about helping the world just a little bit more.
But going back to
so
let me break down these cards a little bit because Waite did pack some pretty good symbolism into these cards. So we've got we've got the phallic wand here, obviously, but we've got these leaves coming up that look like the yods, which is the building block of the entire Hebrew alphabet. But full of potency, full of energy, and you've got this hand of God,
right?
And it's facing towards the left.
Yep.
So it could be more negative because it's facing towards the left, or that's one way to look at it if that jumps out at you, but it's masculine. He's got the grip firm. It's active. He's about to swing that club.
Right.
Now you've got the cups here, and the cups have this dove, which is sacred to Venus.
Yep.
And it fills the cup's soul.
Mm-hmm.
And so it runs over with these 5 streams, which could relate to the 5 senses: your sight, hearing, taste, feeling, smell. Yep. But look at the hand. This is passive. It's receptive. It's holding out in the palm. It's not gripping it. It's very feminine or softer.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've got this this letter. Do you know about this?
It could mean weight. It could mean a bunch of other stuff.
Okay, so nobody knows. But if you look at the typeface, it's not a W. So I'll show you. I mean, it is a W because no. It's not.
So we're going through the weight. We're not just going to look at the weight, though.
We're not. But it's not a W. It's definitely an M because if you look at the M on the Magician card, right, you can see that the way that.
Well, hold on. That's not the way that that's not Pamela Coleman Smith's.
Okay,
original.
Pull hers up.
Here, if you want to see that.
Yep,
You need to
go to the source. Go to the first edition. But some say that it could be weight with for W, but it looks very much more like an upside down M because of the type font.
So
find me an M in there.
See, here is how Pamela Coleman Smith.
Yeah, find me an M.
So here's a W. So I'm going to pull out a W for you because
Okay.
I've heard all about that. Yes.
Yes.
And then I'm going to find you an M.
Yes.
As an example.
So the W.
Judgment. Here we go.
There we go. Okay. So, yeah. So that to me looks like, doesn't quite look like the W to me.
Right. So there's the W. That's what a W. I mean, that's what an M looks like.
Right.
See that?
Yes.
And that is what a W looks like.
Right. So the W, it looks a little bit wider stretched, and it's even more pronounced in some of the later versions of it. But to me, look at how straight the legs of the M are, and the W has kind of like it's bending more.
Right.
So anyway, so what is the M? What's the M? And there's different thoughts. One thing, I think it could be Mary Magdalene.
He was very Christian.
Yes.
So he did the Christian tarot.
But he did turn into a Mason later on, so it could be Mason.
So there's a lot of speculation.
There is.
So that's the thing about anybody's esoteric deck is that they add their symbolism.
Sure, but
and a lot of the symbolism came from the Golden Dawn.
Absolutely. Another idea is that it could be Mount Salvage, which is the Grail Castle. So if you're going into the Grail lore, which was very
so and all this is just and I understand where you're going.
Yeah.
But it's all speculation.
It is.
It is. It's one of those things where there's a code.
Right.
Because when
secret societies.
Secret societies. I mean, if you don't have a secret, it's not a secret society,
right,
is it?
Right. But
so it's people trying to decipher codes.
So because nobody knows, I like to think of it as M for mystery. And that taps in so well with the cups, because the cups, it's that water energy. It's that mysterious, empathetic power that is tapping into the high priestess, and she's all about mysteries. So that all the water in the tarot flows from the high priestess, and who's hiding her book. So it's a mystery, and that I think is the best interpretation of the mysterious M.
Okay.
But going forward, we've got the coins here, and I already described how there's the spring flowers there growing, but it's in a garden, and the pentacle looks almost like a sun shining down on this garden.
And it's being handed to you.
Right. Again, that passive open palm hand.
So that's where some people say that you may be, when you see these, because the hand's coming to you, it's like a gift.
A gift.
You can receive.
Exactly. And then we've got the sword, and that has again, you've got the yod leaves kind of coming off, and you've got the crown here. The crown at the top of the sword is associated with the middle pillar on the Tree of Life.
The Miller Brewing.
No. That's another one used for M. Sponsorships accepted.
Hey.
But,
yeah, really.
But no, the middle pillar on the Tree of Life, Keter, is the crown on the top, and the sun below here is the reflection at the bottom. And the gods in the middle, so it's that Tree of Life, idea. But the olive branch here, hanging off one side, symbolizes peace, and the palm on the other side signifies destruction, negativity. So you've got that balance where it's the double-edged sword. It could go either way. And with that power cards, as the aces are, it's telling you hey, this is important. They're probably the most important cards of the minor arcana, because it's saying, hey, this is the essence of the suite.
Right.
This is something that is, is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? That's up for the interpretation, what cards are around it. But especially with the sword, it could cut both ways.
So here's where we have this progression. So
yeah,
we have when the cards came along, and here's the Mbek again, however you want to pronounce that, Mlook. And so I should have actually, or I should own a deck. I can't believe I haven't ordered one. But you can see here that this is the Ace of Cups.
Yes.
So when it goes to Italy, they're going to westernize it. And so when they westernize it, they say, okay, this is going to represent the cups. Same thing. So now, since they have no clue what a polo stick is, but they do know what a stick is.
Right.
So they're going to create a stick.
Yeah.
The coin, the Mlook has that, and
Yep.
it has a sword, the scimitar in it.
Sure.
So there's this evolution that we're seeing. So again, Levi and these other people into Geblin are looking at this deck here, and they're saying, but I'm seeing something deeper. I'm seeing something more.
Exactly.
I mean, he saw Yads. We look at the different colors. And so when I read, because I love the Marseille deck.
Yeah.
I love reading the Marseille deck. So when I'm looking at it, I'm not so much looking at the esoteric stuff here. I'm looking at what it's actually presenting to me. And so when I see this, to me, wands, batons, they mean creativity. I can create something with it. It's fire.
Spark of fire.
As a musician, I get that spark. I understand what it means to have a spark.
Right.
And it is a fire, and it's that burning thing.
Yeah.
So when I'm reading this, I see this cup here, and it's an enclosed cup. So whereas it got opened up,
Right.
but I'm looking at and I look at the colors.
Yeah.
Each color means something.
Sure.
Why are the blue and the yellows and the reds all mixed like this? And the same thing. Well, first off, in the original decks, they didn't have. You brought your other ones, right?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
no!
yeah.
Oh no! The
Right
recreation.
Here,
Let me show.
Wait.
So the original colors. This is the recreation,
Yeah.
but the stamped out. They didn't have, a full, set of colors like we do. So these
Right.
are stencils. These are stamped out.
limited palette.
Right. And so, but that's what you're looking at here. And so you're looking at that limited palette. What do these colors mean? What is hidden in here?
See, but that's all esoterica.
And it's also, well, they also would see this as a chalice. So when they
Sure.
looked at the
or a church
Mlook,
or the Grail.
well, that's exactly what this is. It's almost like a church. It's almost like an enclosed area.
Yep.
And that is where the spirit is kept.
Or the emotions, in your
Emotion-
heart.
So they represent the spirit, the Holy Grail with this.
Right.
And then we see the coin, and well, that looks just like a coin.
But what's
although-
growing out of it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You take a look at that. And so what's it mean in a reading when you see
These
the
flowers
growth coming out of
sprouting?
it?
Yes.
You don't see it there. And here you can see the fire here.
Yeah.
The sun going around there. And same thing here. You've
Very
got the sun
windy.
here. And there's the crown. Is this the crown of God? Is this so what does this mean when they were originally looking at it? So
But it still has the
And it's-
piece olive branch and the palm for the war. So I mean, it's
Right.
These things they didn't they evolved, but they didn't quite evolve drastically.
So it's easy to see when you meditate.
progression.
If you have a belief in the esoteric, if you
Yes.
have a belief in the occult,
Yes.
and when you're doing a reading, if they started out like I did with it, just using my intuition and not really assigning the one word definition of what
Right.
each one of these is,
You'll still get there.
then I start seeing the story.
Yeah.
And so, but then they made what was called the correspondences, where what's on earth, what's below,
as above.
as below as above is below.
Yeah.
They started seeing the more spiritual out, and then they added the extra clues, the extra esoteric hints, and things like that. But for me, again, when I'm reading, that's not what I'm looking at. Although I take all of that into consideration.
I see it. You do.
I do see it, and it does influence my reading.
Absolutely, I know it does because
yes.
as I watch you read, because he does it every morning, guys. 7:15 if you tune in.
7:15 every day, yes.
But you often incorporate the elemental things.
I will always do that.
Yeah,
because it always means something.
Yeah.
But I'm just letting people know that it's like, you don't need to know astrology.
No.
You don't need to know
of course not.
what a yod is.
Right.
A yod is like a rod, but with a Y?
No.
You don't need to know. If you develop your intuition, you'll see the story.
You'll get there. Yep,
yes.
Absolutely.
And hello, Terra Vita.
Yay! But let's go into. Can I go into some Crowley symbolism here?
Well, let's do that.
All right. So going here, let me put them
here. You know what? So I'm curious to see how he evolved, because he would have seen. This would have been the deck that he learned from right here.
Yeah.
Can we see the evolution?
Yeah, absolutely. But just pet peeve, can I put them in my order?
I want you to.
Okay, thank you.
Because I'm curious to see the evolution for Crowley.
Okay.
Notice how I said Crowley? Because it rhymes with holy.
Oh, Jamie, you can be taught.
I know.
It only took you through the whole major
It rhymes with moly.
to get there. But, all right. So now we got the 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. So Crowley doesn't stray too far from the symbolism that's there.
And when was this deck created? So, what year?
Yeah, Crowley came about in 1944, 20th century.
Yep,
so.
And then it finally got released in.
No, that's when it was.
Oh no,
published.
that's when it was. That was when it was
published.
Yes,
right.
But it was not actually given out. It wasn't published for public use until 1960s.
1944 was the first time it was published, according to my notes.
Here we go. No, so what it was is that they made it, but he had to die. He died, and then it was the 1960s, I believe.
That it became.
I'm pretty sure about that, where it got published for consumption. Okay.
Yeah,
we'll go back.
We'll double check
yes.
that. I thought it just became popular in the 60s, but you could be right. I've been wrong before. Anyway.
Or I could be wrong, Michael. Look at us learning
It's possible.
here.
It's possible. Anything's possible. I as my dad used to say, I made a mistake once. I thought I was right. No, I thought I was wrong, but I turned out to be right.
Yeah,
he was
I thought I was wrong, but I made a mistake.
Yeah, but I made a mistake. It turned out I was right all along. He was a lawyer. But
Okay.
Anyway, okay, so going forward to the Crowley card, we've got the, good evening, Easy Gwent. We've got the Ace of Swords from the Crowley deck, and it follows the sword from the Marseille pattern. It's got the crown on top, symbolizing Kether. He also adds a little bit of inscription on the sword there, which translates to, it's a Greek word for will. And I'm probably pronouncing this wrong, but thelema. It's a whole
Yeah.
It's the whole religion that Crowley basically embraced or helped
it
create.
looks like a Klingon bottle opener.
Well, there you got the crescent moon, double crescent moon, and you've got the there's these points here, but yeah, this word right here that says the Thelma.
And with Crowley, the reason why you have those double points is because there's got to be something sexual in there.
Always.
Okay.
Always.
So here is your
phallus.
happiness.
Yes.
Penis.
But I mean,
yes.
But it fits because it's especially for a sword, because this is the masculine energy here.
Right.
Okay. So moving on to the cups. We've got a very watery, but that creative.
Yeah, let's do this so they can actually see what we're talking about.
Oh yes, indeed. So we've got the water. You've got this triple element going on there. but it's very similar to the
Again, that one,
original.
yeah, the one that he would have again. That's what they all had, and then they would modify it or they would create their own deck.
Exactly.
Part of the Golden Dawn was you were to create your own deck.
Right. Which is what I'm doing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Michael. Well, we'll get to that.
Okay.
Yes, we should have said that in the beginning.
Right.
Michael's creating a deck.
I am creating a deck. But and do you want to hear? Do you take a time out to hear what I've got? Oh, we'll get to that later.
Yeah,
we'll get to that later.
We'll get to that.
Okay. All right. So here's the fiery wands. Again, very phallic. This is the male energy.
The one that you would think is super phallic, and it's not.
Well, it is. It's exploding. It's exploding fire sperm.
Okay. No. The sword, it's an obvious penis.
Right.
Every other card, there's like this. But the one thing, a wand, you would think.
Well, it is. He doesn't need to hit you over the head with it because it's
like he does on every other card.
Because it's pretty plain. Yes.
Okay. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So it's that.
And they're yods.
They are.
They're large
are.
yods.
Or they could be sperm. I mean, it's bursting into.
I've never heard the sperm. I did read about the yods on those.
Well, sure.
But
I mean,
with Crowley, who the heck knows?
I could see, like, even with the older Marseille versions. I mean, they look.
That is phallic. I was going to mention that because
they look, but look, I mean, it looks like, or especially on this part, it looks kind of spermy. I mean, those.
Yeah. That looks like the vagina. That looks like it, and everybody notices that when you go into more in depth with it because it does look pretty obvious. And printers were always trying to sneak stuff in anyway.
Sure. But then you go to
like Disney cartoons.
And then you go to the coins. Now this one's fun. So in the old 16th century at Italy, they would stamp usually the coin, the ace or the 2 would get the stamped with their and they would tax that and everything. So what does Crowley do? But he adds his motto going around the coin. So this is his motto, which is translated to, it's Greek or something or other, but it translates to the Great Beast, which is what Crowley was known for. So he's got his seal on the coin. But again, it's that earth energy. Look at all the green, look at it growing. And yeah, it's that earth energy. I mean, you look at his fire. It's very much in tune with the elemental properties.
Yep.
Okay, so but yeah, the whole aces, having an ace up your sleeve, they're power cards, right? So that these are the most important.
They're the beginning.
They're the beginning, the start. Of the whisper, a
journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step.
Right. Or the first planted seed, or the first light of the match, or the wellspring.
Right. So these are all the beginnings.
Yep.
This is
the essence.
Being handed your intuition, or being, the start of some relationship. Right. Because with the cups and emotions, we're talking about relationships.
And they're all ones, and so this links us in numerologically with the magician, and the fortitude, and the world soul.
Right.
So with my deck, I've got that. How in the magician has that infinity knot over his head, and you'll see the same you'll see the same thing. Just hold it up.
There's the infinity knot.
Right. The lemniscate. You'll see that same knot hidden in the hat of strength with the maiden with the lion for fortitude. You'll see it again wrapping the wreath in the world soul. So it's already in those, right? But I incorporated into my aces as well, so that each of the numbers has a symbol. in my deck to make it reinforcing the numerology
Right. And
aspects.
so, and also just to
Oh, and Worth, yes.
so Oswald Worth. So now I guess we can start getting into the numerology.
Yeah.
And some people, how different beliefs. Some people believe that as you're going through and you get a 10 or when you're dealing with the majors, a 10 would be a 1 plus a 0 equals 1. A 12 would be 2 plus 1 equals 3.
But we don't see it that way.
But we don't listen, we don't agree on a lot. But one thing
we agree on that one.
We agree on its actual cycles of 10.
Yes. Makes so much more sense.
So, and Oswald Worth obviously felt that also
Yes.
because in his deck, which was interesting to see, for his minors, he added
majors
clues
to the majors. Yeah.
So here we have, what is that? A 9.
Right.
So what is the 9? What is a major? That's the
hermit. Yep.
There we have a lamp.
Yep.
Okay. So
There's your 9 of cups with the hermit. Yep.
and then Wheel of Fortune for 10.
Right.
So with your cards,
right,
you're reflecting that.
Exactly. So I've got symbols that I used for each of my numbers that I'm going to repeat through the majors and the minors. So whenever you see a 1, you're going to have that lemniscate hidden somewhere in the card. Whenever you have a 2, I'm going to have an X. So on the High Priestess, it's a sash on her across her her chest. But for example, for a 2 of 2 of cups, there's going to be some architecture behind these two people that are toasting
Looks
with
like
that looks like an
Priestess.
X. Well, no. Oh, no.
You just said 2.
The 2 of, but for the 2 of cups,
Yeah.
So I'll have 2 people toasting, but behind them I'll have architecture with crossed beams. So we've got the X.
Yeah.
So the X is going to be in every 2 or 12.
Oh, gotcha.
Yep.
Right.
Or or 22.
Right.
There will be this X with creativity. For the number for 3.
Well, we're not going to go through the whole.
Okay. But anyway, but I've got these symbols that will.
Yeah. So as we go through, yes. So our belief is
these-
that it is cycles of 10. So you
these
have
patterns
the,
repeat,
the
yeah.
first 10 of the majors. Goes up to the Wheel of Fortune. Then the Wheel of Fortune is 1 plus 0
Is zero.
is 1.
Oh,
so,
it's
so
a
11. Then you
It's
go
a
to
circle.
11. It's a 0.
So Wheel of Fortune would be the 0, and
Right.
then,
It's a 0.
right,
And then
1 again.
then 1 again
For the world
is-
soul.
Right. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Exactly.
And then after that,
Well,
1 and 2.
So the 10 is the 0 again. So
Yes.
it becomes in my deck that becomes the Fool, which is my 30th card is the,
he's doing 30. He's doing 100.
Yeah.
So, but going back to here then, as we're going through, are we ready to do how I read, or you still got some more stuff?
I do have a little bit more on just the giving a glimpse into what I did for my cards, if you don't mind indulging me.
So what we'll end up doing at the end, because I have a particular method that I really, really, as an intuitive and a storyteller,
yes.
and
we'll get to that.
And
I promise.
using the numerology, I know. So I'm giving them the 4 so that they know.
A little teaser.
And it really helps with understanding the progression. Go ahead.
Sure, absolutely. Okay, so for my aces, I wanted to get down to the essence of the.
I'm sorry. Oswald Worth.
Yes,
She was asking which one it was. It's the Oswald Worth Tarot.
the symbolic tarot of Oswald Worth.
Yes.
And Jamie and I both
Love it. It is a Marseille style, but we love it.
But it's also esoteric.
Yes.
It's one of these things that
So your deck.
Yes. So I wanted the elemental powers, the elemental essences of these cards. And if you go into the occult ideology of symbols, the earth is associated with the gnome. That is the elemental corresponding personification is the gnome. So I've got the, on my card a female gnome holding a giant coin. For water, it's the undine, which is translates as mermaid. So I've got a mermaid and she's coming up through the water holding a cup. So I've got the elemental for water. For fire, I've got that is associated with the salamander because they said
Well, yep, and that's in the Rider-Waite.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
And Leonardo da Vinci even said that the salamander is the creature that can go into the fire and
Right, they believe that fire couldn't burn a salamander.
Right.
And some people believe that salamanders actually came
from the
flames.
fire, right? Yeah. So there was some science that still needed to be worked out there. I think that they were just really fast and darted through, and they're like, oh, it must be fireproof. Not really. Please don't burn your salamander. Anyway, and
That's
then,
what she said.
and then so yeah. So
Sorry about that, Chief.
Right. So in on my deck, I do have a salamander climbing up a wand.
That's what she said.
Yes, yes. Oh my god. And then for coins. No, I already did coins. What am I on? What am I missing?
Yeah, I blew you apart there.
Air. So the number one, the sword. So for the sword, they were associated with sylphs, aka the fae, fairies. So I've got a male fae flying through the air, holding the sword, with the palm tree on one side, olive tree on the other. But
Gotcha.
it's So
Okay.
it's getting those elemental powers
Into each one of the different.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's not just the suit symbols, but it's also the elemental powers that I wanted to
Sure.
reinforce, and I even color coded them. So the green is earth, blue is water, fire is red, and air is yellow.
Gotcha.
Just to really lock it in. Okay, all right. So now I know you're dying to tell us.
Well,
all
I
about...
mean, I know we only have. We want to stick to an hour.
Yeah.
And so, and we won't be going through all the elements. We'll touch on it as we go through. But this one session here, we definitely needed to at least introduce what each one of these.
Lay the groundwork.
But here is what
An alternative.
my goal is to understand how they would have originally been using the deck before the first book was written.
Right.
So to me, logically, when I look at these cards, and I mean, I've done my research on this and things like that.
Sure.
And so it is the 1500s, 1600s, and I'm looking at these cards, and what am I seeing here? So I see a wand, I see a coin, I see the chalice, and I see the sword. So I see these as actually being society. So as you go through, so who would represent the wands? That would be the lower classes, right?
Holding the sticks.
That would be
sticks and stones.
That would be the people who don't have a lot. They would be the serfs, the workers. Then you would have the merchant class. Okay. And then you would have your spiritual class. You would have the priest. You would have the
They would actually put that last.
Nope.
They trump everyone.
And that because then you have the king, and supposedly.
Yeah, I think the
So I know
the Pope comes
but
first over the king.
I know, and so that's where the whole thing comes down to, and that's another one of the debates. So when I'm telling my story, it's as if with the first one, it's like if you have a wand, it's a new thought, it's a new creation. And wands are about that fire. It's about something new.
You're slipping back into the elemental.
Absolutely. and it does. But as you move along to the second one,
Right.
again, we are dealing with creation. We're dealing with
merchant class.
The merchant class. When we go into this one and we go into 2, because then they're going to make their coins grow. But thinking about how a merchant would do it, you have your spiritual class where they're going to get together and you bring the 2 spirits together. And then you have the ruling king's class. So that when you're reading, how do each one of these populations play with each other? Because you have the merchant who has the money to be able to buy, whatever this person here has, because he's going to rely on all the others. But think about it like this. Who really is the most important person here?
Well, in the earliest days, and I have read into this. You're not the only one that has had this thought. But in the earliest days, they did order it this way. So in those days, the church was the real leader.
I'm going to throw in an element thing here.
Okay.
Well, first off, you can't have these three without fire.
Right.
Okay. So these are the ones
they build it on the backs of the peasants.
So that's why there's such a strength with it. So even the King of Wands, he may not have the political power, he may not have the church castles, he may not have the money,
right?
But he's still strong in the sense that he's the union.
Right.
He is the one that controls things. So just as we go through, I'm going to start telling stories about how I am, this person here, I don't have a lot of money, but I have, let's say, a piece of wood, or I have a project I need to create. I need to create a log. I need to create something. He's going to use his element. The merchant person is going to have their element, and same thing with the king, and same thing with the religious class.
Right.
And we're going to start telling stories as we go forward based on the different classes also.
Absolutely. And I think that this was historically more apt for those earlier, the first divinators, because this would be more important.
Because there's no books to go by. I am somebody who is a traveling person who is doing fortune telling.
Right.
And I need to use the symbolism that I see here.
But in modern days...
In modern days...
The church is kind of, not as powerful as they used to be.
When I'm reading, I still do it like this.
Okay.
Just because I understand that, even the lowest monk can come back from Rome.
Yeah.
But you also have the person with the sword. It's a person who's going to win. And if the church can get enough swords, they win.
Yeah, but the church these days don't go on the Crusades. I think that the church has kind of gone down in modern days. Unfortunately, money is
okay. We're not going to go into religion, because right now, if you see what's going on in the Supreme Court,
well, that's
right now, this is trumping everything.
Well, in people's what they're talking about, that's true. And yeah, but that's a whole other can of worms.
But as we're going through and telling a story with our decks,
absolutely. But I'm just saying that in these days, more than nations and borders and stuff, there's corporations that are the real world influencers. I see money as moving unfortunately to the very highest level in today's world, and so reading it as class structures is kind of outdated. That's why I love the.
Well, hold on. What?
Oh, absolutely.
Hold on. Oh my God! Are you saying that one method is better than the other?
It's better for me. Not for the.
No, hold on. You just said something totally wrong.
Okay.
And what that is that. Whatever helps you write your poetry, whatever helps you write your story.
That's true.
There is no way I would ever say that your method is better than anybody else's method.
I didn't say that it was better
or
worse. I'm saying that it was better or worse for me.
Well, yes, but there's people out there that may say, you know what, I don't like the esoteric side. There's people that just don't like that side of it.
But the elementals, I think, are more universal.
Right, but when I'm telling a story, I'm talking about home. I'm talking about somebody who's a middle management who's going to work. I'm talking about somebody who is an artist today who has something to create. They may not have a lot of money, but they have a lot of fire and energy. I'm talking about somebody who...
Oh, yeah. No,
I'm not saying that we apply Middle Ages to these. I'm saying that we apply these to where we are today.
Absolutely.
And I tell you what, the thing is that these are blunt and what you hit people upside the head with, even today. And these are considered soft.
Soft, exactly. So it still carries through. But and let me clarify, just so that you don't misunderstand. But I'm not saying that that you can't read those and I absolutely do.
It's just it's one more thing in my toolbox.
Absolutely. And I like that toolbox. When you're saying I see a coin here, so that could be somebody that is an entrepreneur, somebody that's investing.
That's exactly what.
And totally agree. Totally,
it can totally be that.
But I the only thing that I hesitate with is the whole class structure thing. I see that as being somewhat outdated, but not
right.
I'm not saying that you can never.
The reason I'm saying it going forward is that an artist,
absolutely,
is
has a fiery wand, a paintbrush.
Right.
That could be.
And because I'm an artist and because I know a lot of artists, they may not have. You have to manage your money and things like that. But you know what? They're trying to get money. They're trying to go to the merchants to finance what they're doing.
Right. But ultimately,
no matter what, they have to create.
Right.
And so they move that path. Their path is a path of creation.
Totally.
So the merchant has got to try and deal with the political no matter what.
Absolutely.
And so when the merchant is trying to do, and when we are trying to do our taxes, we are trying to do this, we are trying to buy a house, we're trying to do this.
Yeah.
That is the middle class.
Absolutely. I can, and well, it can be.
But you understand what I'm saying.
I absolutely do. And I see those things as
our spiritual struggles.
Absolutely. The only part that I have like a slight knee-jerk, negativity toward is when you have to put them in order. That's because it's like saying that the church is over the artisans.
Well, I get what you're saying. Okay,
yeah, but if you take out the ordering,
but I would like to clarify that I said originally when this deck was created.
Totally agree.
When it was originally, and Levi and these people are looking at this deck historically, they are going to assign.
Sure.
They're going to assign what they see.
Absolutely.
And what trumps what.
Exactly. And in those days, it would.
So, of course, right now, I do not say that this is always going to trump this.
Right.
This controls this a lot. And all of a sudden, it's like...
Oh, let me...
All of a sudden, it's like, but what happens to this without the creativity?
Right.
You get anarchy. You get,
Yeah.
It's horrible. So
you need thoughts to
it's
control
all
the
about
passions.
the balance, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying is that I tell stories based on the personalities of the cards.
Absolutely.
Each one of these is a different personality. This is a ruling class. This is a spiritual class card. If you put the cards into classes without saying one is over the other,
exactly.
This is a merchant class, and this is
a creative class.
A creative class.
And that we 100% agree on.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to clarify that we do agree on that. Because it's just, the ordering gets, is the only friction.
Because I tell you what, I had found this deck here, which is really cool. I don't know if anybody else has seen this. It's,
oh, yes.
This is a deck that was created by a Swiss comic, Swiss or German, one of the two. But he wanted this comic book artist to write his deck. And so he created a story going through. So here we have the cups.
Gunther Hagar.
Yes.
Sounds German to me.
And here we have the swords. And as you go through from one sword, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, he's telling a story about a conquest.
Yeah.
It's a political conquest as you go through. And so for the wood for these, see how it's the guy's dressed as a peasant class.
Sure.
And his story is about building and using the wood and what you do with that.
To make a
and
house,
so, same thing with the merchant class.
Yeah,
and see how he's it's something that with the Marseille deck that it's nothing that I invented. I read about it.
Right.
And I'm like, I totally get that.
I totally get it. And it is interesting and definitely in a historic nature. And you can pull it
and
for
it's hard
modern
to find
things
this deck
too.
now. That deck costs a small fortune.
One of your many.
I know.
But yeah,
so that is another method that people with the Marseille will use.
Sure. I see it more as and
the Marseille is less esoteric.
The
Marseille is seen differently than than the Western tradition. You have a Western tradition which started in England and France.
Yes.
Okay.
And the French tradition, which is Oswald Wirth, is also can also be
he's still English.
No, he's not.
Where was he from?
France.
Was he?
Yeah. Oswald Wirth is French tradition.
Okay.
But he's
that's
esoteric.
What I'm saying. Yes.
But he's esoteric.
Right.
So
in the 1800s, and yes, they developed that.
And hold on. The convert deck, all the greatest esoteric decks are all basing it off of this.
I get that. I get that.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is that most of the people that I read, and I've got...
I know.
If you look up there, I've got all these decks up here. I've got,
I know.
some of the most respected people I've got.
Yeah.
I'm
not.
These people are not saying it's esoteric. They agree that there's elements. They agree, that there's different things. But they don't talk about, with the Marseille style, esoteric.
So, but whenever you are interpreting cards, whenever you're doing any kind of divination, that's esoteric. Do we agree on that?
I'm not saying that I do divination.
When you're reading cards?
When I'm reading cards.
What do you call that?
I call that reading cards.
That's divination.
No, I'm not reading the future. Divination is reading the future.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
What's the definition of divination?
Divination, to me,
what is the actual? Because that's an actual word. So what is?
It's divining meaning from pictures.
I'm going to just ask Google.
Sure, but
what is the definition of divination?
Jeez, Google challenging me.
The definition of divination: the practice of seeking knowledge of the future or the unknown by supernatural means.
Or the unknown.
So I don't do it through supernatural means. I do it through a tarot deck.
But that can be thought of as supernatural.
I didn't say...
You can call it what you want.
No. I didn't say that I was using... I don't see the tarot deck as supernatural.
And you're allowed... Of course.
I know, so that's what I'm saying. So I didn't say you. I don't argue with the fact that you believe in the supernatural and stuff. I didn't argue. So why aren't you just letting me say that I don't do divination with my deck? I see it as more like a Rorschach test. I see it as pulling intuition and inspiration, and it helps to guide me.
To find meaning,
It's a meditation
Yeah.
to see outside of the box, to see where it's going, and I look for it for inspiration. I don't look for it for supernatural.
Okay.
I don't look for it for fortune telling.
So
it can show me, I can think, you know what? Like this morning, the whole thing was about the fact that what am I neglecting? That's going to affect my future. That has nothing to do with supernatural. So if you look at my meditation from this morning, it was exactly about what I'm doing today can either make tomorrow better, or if I ignore it, I'm going to have to clean up the mess sooner or later.
And
that is not supernatural.
And I personally define that as, yes, it is. So it's just a difference of opinion. You say potato, I say potato.
Hold on. Let me get the
full screen.
Full screen now.
Huh? Okay, so let me explain my point of view. Now, you don't have to call it that, but what you're doing, I would call it that. So I would say that what you are doing is you are finding meaning, higher understanding, through the cards. Now, that to me is magic. You might not call it that. You might call it a Rorschach test, whatever.
Here's the difference.
Scientific.
Here's the difference.
Therapy, whatever you want to call it. But I call that esoteric magic.
Here's the difference between me is that I don't call it supernatural. I don't call it anything.
Sure.
As I always say, what I believe does not matter.
Right.
I am a clear glass of water, and I want to reflect whatever the other person's belief is. If somebody believes that I am pulling something, like you do,
I do.
You've seen me read,
and I totally believe.
Yes. You see that I see things.
Yes,
which is fine. And so I see myself as a radio. A radio is something that's agnostic, and basically it's something that you channel on, and it can pull. So if I can let somebody use me for their belief as I'm reading the tarot,
you channel.
That I encourage that.
Sure.
Because I want people to believe what they believe. I don't want them to say, I don't want to say to the person, I am supernatural. I believe in the super. I don't want to say that I believe in anything because that has nothing to do with the reading.
And
it's what you believe.
Right. And that is your right. You can define it any way that you want. But I define what you're doing as tapping into.
See, and I don't define other people. That is you don't define other people.
I don't.
To their face. You don't try and convince somebody.
I'm not trying to convince you.
I'm
not trying to. All that I'm trying to convince you is that what you're doing, I see this way.
Well, absolutely.
You don't have to
fine.
see. You don't have to see
Right.
it the way that I see it.
Right.
You can say
But
that I don't agree.
What I'm saying is that
but
when I read, I'm not seeing it as divination.
understood. But I totally am.
Okay. And I want you to. Again, see, that's the difference. That I want you to,
Right.
and I think that's great.
But see, for me.
But here's how I think you should refer to me.
Okay.
Is that you do see the fact that it's like, as I'm reading,
Yeah.
that you find that you're able to channel something. Your belief is that I'm actually touching something, and so you believe that, but it's
Yeah.
it has nothing to do with your belief, Jamie. It's like, again, I see that you are able to do.
I don't know what you
to do this for me. You can do this for me.
Well, I don't.
But
know.
I'm not. I don't see fortune telling, and I don't see divination in it.
Okay, so here's to help you better understand what I think. So, are you reading the comments?
Yeah.
So the way I see it is that if you're just playing a card game, right? You're playing a game of triumphs, or you're playing poker. There's nothing supernatural about that. That's just playing a game, right?
Yeah.
But if you are laying out cards and telling a story and seeing that there's deeper meanings,
That's meditation.
okay,
And that's gaining insight.
Then that's what you call it. You call it meditation.
Because-
I call it magic.
Because
but it's just
all reality.
yeah, well, it's just different words,
right.
but or different ways to describe the same thing. But you can call it what you want, and you I'm not telling you what you should call it.
Because I see a deck like this, and it inspires thoughts in me. It's like I had not thought Queen of Cups, and this is this beautiful, majestic thing underwater. That's going to inspire me differently than if I look at another Queen of Cups.
Absolutely.
And so it's all part of my storytelling.
But what does that tap into?
It's that's like saying a Rorschach test.
Yeah, and what does the Rorschach test tap
Are you
into?
saying that the Rorschach test, it taps into your subconscious?
Exactly.
The subconscious is not supernatural.
Yes, it is, in my opinion.
Okay, and I so
You
respect
respect that? Okay, I appreciate
do.
it.
And again, I want to be the channel for somebody else, but I'm not going to tell somebody that I'm doing anything supernatural.
You don't have to,
Right.
but I'm going to totally think that it is.
Okay.
Okay.
And I actually take that as a compliment.
Good. It's meant as one.
Because
it's meant as one.
Because you're not the only person who said that to me.
Because
you
might, as an agnostic or atheist or whatever, if you might not tend to think what you're doing is magic, but to somebody that does have that belief, what you are doing is magic. Whether you choose to call it that or not.
See, and I do recognize that other people have different beliefs than mine.
Right.
And I encourage that. And if it's one of those things where I can be that glass of water and reflect their belief, if I can be that channel
right,
that helps them,
why not?
If they want to believe, I want them to believe. I'm going to tell somebody that, what I'm doing here is that I believe I'm touching into the unconscious, and they can say, well, I feel that, you've really just touched something deeper than, and I've had people say that.
Sure. With the tarot, it happens all the time.
Right. and I feel honored that I'm able to help them tap into something.
Right. And I know when you're reading, all the time you get chills and you're like, oh wow, I'm never expecting it to be so powerful, and yet it is.
I love it.
I know. And to me, that's magic.
And I get a magical feeling.
There you go.
I know.
I rest my case.
We have spent way too much time on this. I thought that talking about the miners was going to be like...
Oh, it's always fun and fiery.
Oh my gosh.
But I think we're over time, yeah. So
can I just say this is the content I got?
See, but they love the friction, but
Oh, an omen! Look at this. Oh, what is... This all means... this means something. Uh-oh.
Says the doubter, right?
Oh, man.
It does mean something.
So we've got the Nine of Swords reversed.
Right.
We've got the Page of Cups. and we have the Six of Cups. Wow. Okay.
Oh, we are doing a reading?
So no.
He's
I'm
sneaking
just
one
saying
in
that
at the
it
end.
all
We're
pops
totally overtime, double overtime.
Okay.
But...
No, I'm going to reflect on this.
Okay.
Afterwards.
Okay.
Because the cards have
Yeah,
laid
the
themselves out.
cards are telling you a story.
The cards are telling a story.
Tell me the story, Jamie.
Well, the story is that this anxiety.
I was waiting for that.
Well, because of the Nine of Cups in reverse.
The Nine of Swords.
So Nine of Swords.
Yeah.
So we have this anxiety here that's reversed.
Yeah.
And we're learning from that anxiety, so that makes it a good thing. And so the tug and pull that me and Michael feel, it's like I can feel anxiety, but with the Six of Cups, it deals with our friendship and the growth that we have from it.
Exactly.
And so, regardless of anything, these cards popped out for a reason.
They did. They did. A perfect reason.
Right.
And I love
and
that
this
reading.
is explaining that me and you can feel all that anxiety.
But get over it.
But
learn from it.
And move forward.
And have a cup of tea.
That is awesome. I love reading the tarot. I love the tarot more than anybody can ever imagine.
Right?
You know?
It's magical.
Because I am a storyteller and I just saw that story pop right out and it's like, it was so apropos.
It was.
So I think we're just about done.
That is a perfect ending.
I can't believe we took this long.
It's time for tacos.
Is that what we're having?
I don't know. We'll find
So our significant others are downstairs.
They're plotting in the other room.
Yeah, they're plotting our dinner.
Yeah.
So, because science is heckling magic.
But see, it's all about balance and equilibrium. It's finding it's the unity, which is all about the aces. It's finding that unity between science and between the what's more. Call it what you will. But there is something more. And when you unify those two things together, that's harmony.
Yeah, and so my journey started a long time ago. What's that noise? Oh,
I don't know.
So my journey started a long time ago. This was my ace.
There you go. We all got to start somewhere.
So we're all starting somewhere. This was my ace that I got. I read through this and I was really confused, but I found other things. And so by doing that, then I moved on to the 2.
Right.
And that's where I started making a choice on whether I want to do this or not, what I want to do.
Intuitively.
And then move into the 3, which is I've made the choice and that's helped me to find the direction. Now it's time to grow into something stable. So as we move along with the minors, we'll see how the numbers all actually add up.
And I'm looking forward to, that's a nice wrap up, yes.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to next week where the 2 of us can get back together and...
and Tara Vita is asking about all the boards on my wall.
Oh, yes, yes. He has quite the collection.
I have...
Can you see them all?
Yeah. It's like,
he collects Ouija boards.
So I have over 100 and plus tarot boards on my wall.
Oh no, those are Ouija boards.
Ouija boards. Did I say tarot? Actually, I have a tarot board down
there
here.
There you
also.
go. Yeah.
So I actually have a tarot Ouija board. Yeah. So yeah, I collect them. I collect oddities, but I have all these historical boards. They're all unique. They're all different, each one, and it's about I love the history again.
Yep.
So I have the full history of Ouija boards on my walls, over 120 years worth, downstairs up here. So that's the boards. Michael.
Jamie, always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. It's always fun. Guys, everybody, women, men, everybody in between. Friends, Romans, countrymen.
Aliens.
You know.
Guardian angels.
There's nothing
demons.
wrong. Everything.
We'll see you all next week.
Goodbye. Thank you again. Take care.
Bye, guys.